Hello, everybody. Welcome to Emotional Connections. And today we have a very special guest. Let me see if he's on. Hey, Lise.
Hey,
Hey!
how you doing?
Hi, Evan. How are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Can you see me well?
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
very good Wi-Fi you have.
Oh, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Yeah? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles, in the comfort of my holed up in my compound.
Really? And how are
Yeah,
you there?
it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. And luckily, I have a beautiful spot to dwell in and have a girlfriend and fully stocked fridge and a lot of beans, a lot of
Blessed.
beans, a lot of pasta and beans.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right.
And we have enough toilet paper too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here.
How are things with you there? Where are you
uh,
exactly?
I'm in Portugal right now.
Portugal. Wow.
Have you ever been here?
No, I've heard it's amazing. I've never been.
Oh, hope you come here one day.
Yeah, one day after this is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here things are a bit ugly.
Are
We're
they?
we're not too far behind from Italy, I
Yeah.
must say, and
So what's
people
what's
are
the lockdown like? What is it like there?
what?
What's the lockdown like there? Like what is it like exactly?
Um, they're not too strict yet, but
Mm,
they're starting to be
mm.
because people are not being really responsible about it,
Mm.
and
Yeah, same thing here. Yeah.
yeah, especially the older people.
Mm. Oh, really?
Yeah,
The older people, huh? Because the younger people in America are, going to spring break still, and I mean that's over, but they didn't care. They were going to all the beaches, and the
here,
older people here, yeah, oh,
but
there too?
mostly the older people because
Huh.
we've come from a dictatorship,
Mm-hmm.
so since the 70s we've been free, but
Mm-hmm.
people still, I think, still remember that time, and
Mm-hmm.
um, they kind of compare that to what we're living now, which is
Sure.
comparable, but so they still want to be free, going to the coffee shop and
Right.
market, and, yeah,
Right.
but they don't realize how dangerous it is.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I'm glad you're okay. You know. Um,
Yeah. Knock on wood. Um, just taking it day by day. What can I do? But
ex-
I'm trying to live in the moment and stick to healthy habits and meditation, playing music more, getting better at my skills, and creating content every day as a Tom Cruise impersonator, which is kind of keeping me sane, just doing fun things, not being too precious about it, being, you know, not a perfectionist. Usually I'm a perfectionist about putting stuff out, but I just want to create and just spread joy, make people happy. And so those things are really important to me now.
so you haven't felt cabin fever yet?
A little bit. I mean, I get outside. We take walks around the neighborhood. I garden, I do a workout outside and lounge about in my backyard. I have a beautiful patio, so I'm very fortunate. Got a got a nice area I live in, so it could be worse.
Yeah, indeed it
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born in Connecticut, but moved to New York when I was one. I mean, my parents moved me, but yeah, moved to Westchester, which is like an hour out of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice area, but very isolated and not a lot of variety. It's not a wide variety of demographic. It's mostly white, Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. Just not diverse as a cultural.
Yeah.
We lived in a bubble, but it was a beautiful bubble, and there were a lot of golf courses, and everyone you know was very nice. It just, luckily I had an upbringing where I was a professional actor, a child actor, so I was always in the city in
Where
New
do you?
York, which, yeah. So I was always in Manhattan almost every day, starting at like six years old to, my
Oh,
late teens. and I would go in on auditions almost every day. But because of that, I got to know a much more diverse crowd than my fellow, friends in Westchester, because
Mm-hmm.
they had their extracurricular activities, but they were still within the Westchester bubble.
Right.
And I would be in the city, in the melting pot of New York, with every kind of race, sex, gender, everything, culture. So
So,
that it was helpful,
right.
growing up.
So you did you live there, or were you just born there?
My friend Paige just joined. I don't even know how she knew about this, but
Paige.
hey, Paige. Paige is a very old friend of mine, and we used to go to guitar workshop and play guitar together,
Mhm.
and write songs and stuff. But sorry, what were you asking?
If you were just born in Connecticut, but or did you live there for a long
No,
time?
no, no, no. Just a year. I didn't spend any time
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah,
And after that, where did you live?
in Westchester, New York, and then I went to college in Boston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
and now I'm in LA. So I kind of moved around a little bit after Boston. I stayed in. I was living in Queens for 6 years,
hmm
which was an experience for sure, and had my had a Volvo station wagon, and I would take it into the city from Queens, and it was an ugly car, but it was not a hot, sexy car, but it got me from point A to point B, and that was in my early 20s, and then I moved to LA when I was 30. A girl that I was dating just gave me a little push
hmm
because I wasn't doing it on my own. I just was kind of um, complacent living where I was, and
in LA, it's where the action happens, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
So LA is where exactly, and that's what was um, told to me for quite some time, and I always knew it was where the action happened, but I also was weary about it because of all the negative connotations, like the fakeness and the smoke and
hmm
mirrors, and you know, and New York has like the real vibe, but it was a good decision in the end, and I'm very happy now, and it's a journey, where I'm at right now.
okay. But tell me a little bit about your parents, so we can go
Oh,
Okay.
my parents. My mom is Russian Jew. My dad's Italian,
hmm
and there's a famous play in New York called "My Mom's Jewish, My Dad's Italian, and I'm in Therapy,"
Yeah.
and that's that corresponds to me and my upbringing. Um, but they're just like a very charismatic and emotionally charged family, but really wonderful parents. I'm definitely blessed to have them as parents, and just grew up in a nice household.
And what were your earliest memories of childhood?
Um, well, my dad is an advertising graphic designer guy. That's his career. He's now retired, but he used to make me uh, every birthday party that I had. I have really wonderful memories because one of the things he did was he made pinatas, handmade pinatas that were spectacular and really creative, like a spaceship and things like that. Not your typical animal fare, but he did do that too. Dragons. He did a dragon one time. It was amazing. But he also made me a birthday card that was uh, a massive birthday card, a huge one that was like 5 feet by 7 feet. And he was an incredible illustrator and graphic designer, so he did these really wonderful kind of uh, pictorial um, historic things of the past year of my life. So every year he would do it, and it would be everything that happened to me of significance in that year, and it was really a wonderful memory. Yeah,
Oh, beautiful.
yeah. So I
And
have a lot of I have a lot of um, those birthday cards saved. I'll never throw them out. They're just great memories. Yeah,
also, they were happy birthdays.
yeah, yeah.
So, tell me if your house was your household was open to the arts at all, or
Oh yeah, yeah. My parents again were artists. My mom was in graphic design with my dad as part of their company, and they
hmm
met they met in art school. Actually, they met at the School of Visual Arts, and I grew up as a child actor, musical theater I was doing, and soap operas, All My Children, As the World Turns, Guiding Light, the show called Swan's Crossing with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh.
And I was 12 years old at the time. I had an action figure doll made of me, which was kind of fun. My brother was a ballet dancer, and for many, many years, and I think he danced at the Joffrey Ballet Company in Feld and all over Europe and North Carolina. He was a very accomplished dancer until he got injured. But
Oh.
now he's one of the most amazing wire sculpturists. He's an artist. He sculpts beautiful women and men out of wire.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Man of Wire, and he's
Man.
he's done very well for himself over his career. And a few years ago, there's this blog called Humans of New York, and you know it? Okay.
Oh, it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So they did a profile on my brother, and that really blew him up in a big way, in a
Yeah.
positive way. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So both your brother and yourself were interested in the arts and
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I was definitely an entertainer. I wouldn't say I was interested in the business of entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
and all that came with it, because I was just a child, and I was,
How
I
did
kind
you
of had to.
develop your talent? Was it seeing things on the TV and mimicking them?
Oh, no, I was just being a kid. I was just a kid, and I developed a singing voice, and which I nurtured that talent and had voice teachers and everything, and started probably around 9 or 10 booking my first musical theater jobs and voiceovers and commercials and
Mm-hmm.
jingles. I did some jingles, but it was just trying to juggle the idea of being a normal kid versus going in for auditions every day and taking the train into the city, or going with my mom into the city and going on auditions all day. It was a bit of a struggle, because I just wanted to play soccer or hang out with my friends. But in the beginning, I wouldn't say that I loved that aspect of it. I love to entertain. I love to be, you know, theatrical and charismatic, but I didn't love the business.
But was it
Um,
good to be
yeah.
deprived of those things, or the fun with the other kids? And
What was that? Prodigal son, did you say?
now, if it was hard to be deprived
Oh,
of a lot of.
deprived. Yes, I would say it was hard. Yeah. Yeah, I just remember like one year just really wanting to play soccer, because I was a good soccer player, right wing forward. I played, and I was I scored goals, and that was always fun. But after skipping, or not skipping, after calling in, you know, with an excuse because I had an audition so many
Mm-hmm.
times, I was benched. I was benched a lot, and it was unfortunate, because I really was very good, but I chose acting over soccer.
Right.
And that was one of many things. I mean, I could have done other extracurricular activities, but acting, and my agents and managers took over, because they have certain expectation levels about you, and I had to abide by it, or you get fired.
Oh, yeah. So
So
so you started very early, and you
yeah,
already had managers and agents controlling
yeah.
you. Right. And
I mean, controlling me, yeah. I mean, at some point, at one time when I went to college, I made a decision, a really big decision, just to go to school. And
mm-hmm.
my agents at the time, even though they're really nice people, they're agents, and they were very, very upset that I went to college. Um, Very disappointed in me, that I wanted to spend my money on an education when I was hot, when I was doing well.
Yeah.
So
So at that time you were exploding everywhere on TV and commercials.
yeah, I did pretty well in the commercial arena, but mostly in musicals and TV shows, and bit parts here and there. I also almost booked Saved by the Bell, but
Oh.
it was a new class of Saved by the Bell. It was a second installment of Saved by the Bell, and I
The
was yeah, it was the remake of it, and I was going to be the new Zach Morris. I was going to be the new cool kid on it, which is ironic, because in Swan's Crossing, I was the geek on the show. I was um, the screech of the show, the real loser. And on Saved by the Bell, I booked it, and they wanted me to come out to LA and sign a 3-year contract. I was 17 years old, and instead I decided to go to college and also just do a commercial, which I also booked at the same time. Now the commercial was 1 week in Barcelona, Spain, which is not too bad either, but it was 1 week versus a 3-year contract in LA. So it was a difficult decision, but
Do you regret it? No.
I no, I have no regrets. No.
No. But you would have been great in there.
Yeah, but it would have changed my life and altered the course of my life completely. And I wouldn't have gone to college. I would have put that off. I probably wouldn't have gone because it would have been 3 years in LA during the time that I was really, just getting going and in my career, in my life, in my
Hey, and
collegiate
we hear
career. Yeah.
the cast stories now, and then they tell us how they've been virtually sequestered in the studio, and
Yeah, I would have been like trapped, I think, in my the young Hollywood existence, and probably was for the best.
so when you started out as a 6-year-old,
Mhm.
what did you think of the world you've encountered and the people you saw in them?
As a 6-year-old, I mean, really, really nurturing and wonderful. I just, I worked in a lot of musical theater, like I was saying. I did a show called The Rothschilds when I was 8 or 9, I think. I think I started 8 or 9, went to about 10 or 11, maybe 11. I
Hmm.
forgot the exact time frame, um, but it was really exciting to be a part of it. And I had all these adults in the show who must have been in their 20s or 30s at the time. They were just very, great mentor figures and just wonderful, wonderful to me. And it was like a new family I developed. Every job I did, whether it was Swan's Crossing, the Rothschilds, the longer term projects,
Hmm.
Rothschilds ran for 15 months, 13 to 15 months. And there was a show called New York Rock that I did, that was about 12 months. And Swan's Crossing was 6 to 8 months, I believe. And I developed a real familiar relationship with everyone involved, and I was always the youngest. But it was great, like big brothers and sisters, and people taking me under their wing.
That most actors, when they start, they either
Yeah,
have some good mentors or they have horror stories about starting in the business.
yeah. I don't have horror stories at all. Um, Only fond memories, and if I do have any horror stories, they've been pushed to the back recesses of my mind. I really can't recall anything terrible
Not
that happened.
fake friends,
What's that?
not even fake friends.
Um, Not really. I mean, there's some funny things like back when I was a kid actor, there was always that I think one or two kids, and of course I don't have any bad blood towards them now at all, but we were always super competitive. It would always be this one kid who would book the job over me, or I might book the job, but he would always book the job. I think his name was either JD Daniels or I think that was him. But I think he was on Mighty Ducks in Mighty Ducks, that movie. But we would always audition for the same stuff. We were similar types, and when you have similar, we would always see each other at the auditions, and we didn't give each other stink eye or anything. But I hated consistently losing to him. I lost to him quite a number of times. He was just like the hot. He was so hot back then. Every cast director wanted to work with him, and I was on some lists too. Like people enjoyed my work too, but he was a little hotter. You
Yeah,
know.
it seemed like it was either you or him, right?
Yeah, but it was him a lot. It was him a lot.
Uh,
But but it's okay because, I have no regrets about the path that I've been on, and it's all part of the journey.
where is he now? Is he still doing?
I have no idea. I don't know. I should look him up. I'm sure we'd be competitive about something else.
Yeah, but you probably outdid him in this.
I don't know. Who knows? Outdid. It's hard to measure that.
Oh, of course. But so you said you went to college one year,
Yeah.
and did you
Well, I
get
went
to?
to college. No, I graduated college.
Oh,
So
okay.
what happened was I did go to college for 1 year. It's funny. I went to college for 1 year, but then I dropped out or I took a break because
Mm-hmm.
I booked something pretty big. I booked what was to be my big break. I was 19 years old and I booked this movie called Camp, which eventually came out, but when I booked it, it was Danny DeVito producing, this guy Todd Graff, who was a writer director, a very very successful guy and wonderful person. And it was a story about Stage Door Manor, which is a very popular theatrical camp that kids go to, but they put on performances that they're way too young and they're very precocious. They put on like Equus, for instance, or some show that they have no business doing, like Glengarry, Glen Ross, and it's like 12-year-olds. So the movie's all about these kids, and most of the people who go to this camp on the male side are gay, and I played the only straight kid at the camp. So the premise was about the only straight kid at a theater camp, and how all the guys want him and all the women want to be with him, right? And it was great. And I rehearsed for a long time. It was at that time a $6 million union project, a SAG project.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the time off from college to do that because I thought this was going to be my big break, and I might as well do this for a little while. I can always go back to school.
Right.
And then I learned that, you know, the upsetting nature of the business is that things fall through sometimes. So what ended up happening was the backers of the film, and I had worked on it for 6 months doing rehearsals. We did a backers audition to raise money, and we were scheduled to shoot and everything. And then 2 months away, while I was rehearsing and practicing my guitar work, because I had to play and sing the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
or play the guitar and sing, I had to, so I had to, you know, I was practicing my skills. I get a call from the director, and he told me the bad news that the distributor and backers, the investors, had to pull out. They couldn't afford it, and they wouldn't put up a certain amount of marketing dollars, so the deal fell through. He was extremely upset about it. He said he'd let me know how things pan out in the future. It was very upsetting to me, and especially because I took a year off from college.
Right.
And then a year later, it came back to the table, but they had to do it non-union. A new production company came in, and they had to do the movie non-union. So all the union members got fired, which was really, really unfortunate.
And
So
were you?
the movie came out, but I wasn't in it. I couldn't be in it because I'm a union.
Oh, okay.
So that was an upsetting point in my life. It took me 10 years to get over, at least.
Yeah,
And
reality of the business too, right?
yeah, it happens. It happens, you know. It just hadn't happened to me yet
Of
until
course.
then. And then I did a Broadway show called Tom Sawyer,
Mm-hmm.
which was an extraordinarily expensive production of Tom Sawyer. I think one of the most expensive productions at the time before Spider-Man on Broadway. And I also did the backers audition for that. So usually when you do a backers audition, and then the show gets picked up, and they go into, you know, previews, and they become you know, the show actually gets a launch. The people who did the rehearsal period would be called in to do the actual show, but the show ended up. I went back to college at the time because the movie fell through, and I was hoping to get called back in for the show, but the show ended up closing in a week because it was a bomb. It just completely bombed on Broadway. So I went back to college and served 3 more years of college and wrote it out, but had a wonderful time in college. It was great. Did a lot of student film work. I still acted with some friends there, and all my friends were directors, and, you know, while
Why,
pursuing economics. I was studying economics.
why did the show bomb? Was it the reviews or?
I think honestly, there were incredible people involved. Paul Gimignati, who is or Gimignani, he's Stephen Sondheim's like right hand guy, and he was the musical director. And obviously Tom Sawyer, you have a very, very big IP. But it bombed because it was one of the most expensive shows at the time, and they just went under. They just budgeting, I don't know. But it was a big miss. Yeah, big misfire.
So you went back to college, and did you major
Yeah,
in anything extra?
economics. No,
Oh,
no acting. No, I did acting as a hobby. Just I at one time I had thought about getting a degree in acting, but it was I didn't. I spent money. I spent my own money on college. All the money I made as a child actor, and it's very expensive, of course. Boston University at the time was like 35,000 a year. Now it's like 60. But I chose to spend my money on a degree, even though it's still an undergrad degree and doesn't mean much. It's better than an acting degree, which means absolutely nothing. So I chose to get an economics and a humanities degree. I was going to go to Emerson for acting, but it was a last minute decision not to do that because I didn't want to spend it on an acting degree. But after college, I went to a conservatory for 6 months, like an intensive. I went to an intensive that was, 12-hour days, mass class, movement class, theatrical acting, Shakespearean, all that stuff.
So by this point, you wanted to make yourself an actor, follow that path for real?
Yeah. At that time, I just I really didn't have much going for me at the time. I mean, I'm an entrepreneurial person, but and eventually I made a transition into producing. That's what I did for 12 to 15 years.
Super.
And I still occasionally do some producing. But
You want to
other than
plan?
that, other than in the entertainment industry, I really didn't see any future for me. I've considered other routes. Like I did do paralegal work as in real
Mm,
estate for 2 years, and I've never been more miserable. I've done, I've worked as a barista, in a coffee shop. But all roads lead back to performing and entertaining, and you know, I've just got the bug, and I can't quit it.
so you just wanted the degree for Plan B, just in case.
Yeah, for Plan B, exactly. But I really didn't have the best advisors in high school. I could have probably chosen a better path and something that made more sense for me. But I have no regrets. It's okay.
But what could you have done differently? And
Honestly, I mean, I was a producer, and one thing that would have made me more valuable, but I didn't really know I was going to go into producing at the time, was I could have gotten my law degree
mm-hmm.
at a much earlier age and probably done pretty well as an entertainment attorney, but also a producer, because a lot of successful producers are entertainment lawyers.
Right.
And it's it's something that strengthens your career. Also, a lot of producers come from money or have some form of wealth prior to jumping into the producing realm, which requires you typically to have some money or some savings, or being able to afford optioning a script, optioning
Right.
the rights to something, and then putting money behind developing a script and getting the actors attached, getting a writer, to write a couple great scripts, great drafts. All of those things cost money. So I was a producer that didn't have money, so I had to run on pure passion and connections, which I do have a lot of connections,
Right.
but it's not enough. It's an unsustainable business, even for people with money. You're only as strong as your weakest film, and studios can get away with it because they have a lot more money, a lot more cushion.
Yeah.
They also have marketing dollars, and independent production companies do not have marketing budgets typically.
Mm-hmm.
And investors who invest in independent productions don't understand that marketing is so important, or they might understand it, but they're really investing in a production, and it's hard to convince investors that marketing is really valuable. So yeah, it's just a tough business. It's really really hard, and I'm 40 years old now, and I'm not really interested in having that kind of those false starts and empty promises, and dealing with egos all the time.
Yeah. It's
So
very.
it's already hard enough dealing with one ego and dissolving that. But if navigating a minefield of egos is not something I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's very tiresome.
Yeah.
But when you started earlier, did you have any interest in following for example, a theater career, or just doing theater?
Yes, I love doing theater, but the thing is with theater is that, and this is interesting, is that so first of all, as a singer, as a professional singer, which I was, and I'm no longer a professional singer, like I still enjoy it as a hobby, but it took so much maintenance and voice lessons constantly, and just maintaining your vocal quality, and if you didn't uh, keep up with it, you would lose it, and you could weaken your voice really easily. Same goes for your body movement. You had to stay in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when I got out of college, things shifted a great deal in the theater space, especially musical theater, in that um, usually when you were a lead actor, like I would audition for lead roles because I wasn't a dancer. So the company members in a show would be dancers. I was the lead. I was going up for all the lead roles, sometimes supporting. But the thing is, you weren't expected to dance much as a lead actor until roughly the year 2000, when suddenly the expectation level was a lot higher for lead actors, and you had to dance and sing and play the guitar and you had to basically be a triple threat. And so the caliber of talent was so much higher, and I just didn't have the desire to really put in the work at that time.
Mm-hmm.
My brother was a dancer, but dancing is super hard, and so much training is needed, and I didn't have an interest.
Yeah, but so you followed from that and did the TV work, right? So you felt like
Yeah,
more to the TV
I well
or movie?
actually I didn't. I did a lot of TV when I was younger, like the soap work, and I until I actually came out to LA in my 30s, that's when I started working a lot. And again, as a Tom Cruise impersonator, that's when
Mm-hmm.
things really took off for me. But really, in that singular arena, no one really cared about working with me in a large degree. I mean, making a generalization, but no one cared about working with me as
You
me or
did
as other characters because I was doing so well as a Tom Cruise impersonator. Yeah.
you did the soap operas first, right? The As the World Turns and did
Hmm.
All My Children.
Yeah,
And how was that experience? If
that
you
was
don't mind.
great. So All My Children was I did about 6 episodes, 4 to 5, maybe it was 4 to 5 episodes. It was a recurring character, which means they can always bring you back,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they don't find a body. You know, people die on soaps all the time, but if they don't find a body, they bring you back. So I did 5 to 6 episodes of that, working with Sarah Michelle Gellar again because she was one of the stars of the show. She won an Emmy. We didn't have scenes together, but it was nice to be reunited with her because she was on Swan's Crossing with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, my name was Ethan Elkhorn. I was a Native American or Indigenous tribal tracker in Canada. And I helped this guy, Ted, who had a twin brother named Tad, find his lost brother in the Canadian outback. That was my role. That's a soap opera for you, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah, and then Guiding Light and As the World Turns were much smaller characters. I did like 1 day roles as like a kid in the classroom having like a line or flirting with a girl or you know doing something like that.
Soap still on because some last
I'm
for
not sure. I don't really keep up with that, but some of them have closed. Yeah,
yeah.
some of them are online right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking about it with John Glover, my first guest, and about how many actors make a living in soaps for
Hmm.
so
Oh yeah. I mean, Susan Lucci's the biggest.
right.
Yeah.
And you did The Sopranos too, right?
I did. Sopranos was an amazing experience, and I did 2 days on it, and still get residuals to this day. The residuals are really low, like 20 cents, two
Mm-hmm.
bucks. But this was 10 years ago. I think I did it, and I was in a really great episode. And I actually had a few lines that were cut out, but I did have a name. What was my name? God, I forgot, but I did have a name. I had a credit, and I'm very grateful for that because it was one of the greatest shows ever made.
Of course.
Um, I was dating a girl at the time named Jamie, and her father was in the Teamsters, and her father was not just in the Teamsters. I think he was the head of the Teamsters
Mm-hmm.
in that district in New York. And I'm pretty sure because I didn't audition for this role, I just got it out of nowhere. I'm
Really?
pretty sure she got me the job, but she still hasn't told me to this day. But she hasn't admitted it to me, but I'm pretty sure that's how it happened. Because her father and the Teamsters, of course, work on every union show.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but yeah,
And did you work with any of the main cast or just?
yeah. I worked with the son. I was
Oh, okay.
Tony's son. Yeah, we were partying together at a nightclub in New York called Marquee,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was fun. When I went there, I mean, this is just a little trivial, but my two of my girlfriends, just friends of mine, happened to be extras on
Yep.
set that night at the party. So it was really cool. Like I was working as one of the, day players, but my friends were there and I got to hang out with them and party with them. And it's always cool to work with friends.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
So tell me about this whole Tom Cruise thing. How did it start for you?
So the Tom Cruise thing started for me back when I was in college. I was a freshman in college and I was just basically trying to meet people and and befriend people because you gotta make friends quick there. It could be a lonely experience otherwise. And I had a friend named Alex and a friend named Brendan and kind of a core group, and this guy Bob, two Bobs actually, and we all were put into a hotel dorm room. So it's kind of odd, but at Boston University, if you fill out your paperwork late, they penalize you. So we were punished by putting us in a hotel to stay temporarily for 6 months until we get placed in an actual dorm room. So there were 200 kids living in a hotel with other hotel guests who were coming in from all over the world. But there were 2 or 3 floors designated for kids, and the rest was the hotel. But it turned out to be the most amazing experience because we had no security. We could roll a keg through the door and have parties, and no one was there to really, bust us. Then we had maid service, so it was really incredible. We could, make as much of a mess as possible, and the maid would clean it up the next day. We had HBO and cable, so that was awesome. And my friend, but the one downside was the fact that it wasn't social. It wasn't a social atmosphere like a normal dorm. So we had to come up with creative schemes to meet people. And one of those schemes was my friend proposed that we do kind of an Abbott and Costello routine where I would do Tom Cruise, which he pointed out that I sound and somehow resemble Tom Cruise and have his mannerisms and have his voice down. So he said, why don't you learn some lines from Jerry Maguire, Risky Business, or Top Gun? And he does a Jean-Claude Van Damme impression that's not too bad. It's actually hilarious. And we would get together and do a routine and meet women that way. So it started off as a way to pick up women, and occasionally it worked. And sometimes the door was slammed in our face, but it was the majority of the time very successful. And I performed at parties, and anytime that we were around groups of people, Alex would ask me to do my impression. So that's how it all started, and then things really
How did you
took
do
a.
was it by phone?
Oh
Or
no, in person, in person.
okay.
But I didn't even have shades at the time. I did it without shades, without a wig. I had a
Mm-hmm.
fuller I had a fuller head of hair. It's receding now, but I had a much bigger, you know, head of hair, longer hair. I had like Mission Impossible 2 hair, so it came down to
Oh,
here. Yeah,
okay.
and had a lot of fun with it. I then threw on the shades, and it kind of came into my own more. But at that time, I didn't think about doing it as a career. I knew nothing about impersonations or
You,
impersonating anybody or the what? What did you
were
say?
you were you a fan of his?
Oh, I was a big fan. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I would say Risky Business was one of my favorite films of all time. Aspirational in many ways. I love the line. Sometimes you just got to say, "What the fuck? Make your move." It's one of
Yeah.
my one of my philosophies in life. And yeah, I mean, Top Gun, Days of Thunder, Rain Man.
Did he
I mean,
inspire
what wasn't there to like, you know?
did he inspire your career in any way? From
Yeah,
the impression.
yeah, for sure, yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, he, I only can credit him, of course, and I have only, um, in many ways, like it's a blessing and a curse because I ended up kind of getting derailed a little bit because my career was really playing a multitude of characters,
Mm-hmm.
but I also was graduating school and needing to make some sort of a living, and I realized that you gotta go with the flow and go where the money's coming in, and the money was coming in, and the demand was coming in for my cruise impression. So I really had to adapt to that, and it became something much bigger when YouTube and Funny or Die came about, and viral videos started to come into play,
It started
and
with YouTube video, right?
it started with a YouTube video and Funny or Die in and around the same time. YouTube was first. I did like a montage of Cruise's finest performances without a wig and glasses, just acting, just pure acting, and it got some notice and attention. Um, and a friend of mine from high school, Ross Kahn, um, he was living out in LA, and he said next time you're out in LA, you you should work with my friend and I. We have a production company, and they had an idea for a really funny sketch called Tom Cruise is a cock block. where the premise was, what if Tom Cruise was at your party and he wouldn't leave? It's 4 a.m. and he's flirting with your girlfriend.
Right.
He's cock blocking the girl you love. So that was it, a simple premise, and it became a trilogy, and it did very, very well on Funny or Die, and it got passed around agencies and managers all over Hollywood, and got taught. A lot of people were talking about it, and that's how I ended up getting a lot of work. And back to what I was saying before, like I'm happy. I'm so grateful for the way my career trajectory has taken shape,
Mm-hmm.
but also it derailed my life in many ways, in the sense that I stopped pursuing traditional acting work because the money was going towards another place, or the demand was going towards cruise.
And you can't do both?
I mean, I do dabble in other things. Like I'm friends with a lot of writer directors and producers who sometimes call me to do various jobs that are not Tom Cruise,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm grateful for. But I haven't gone back to traditionally auditioning for other roles, like getting an agent and getting a manager and all that, because it's so exhausting and tiring right now. I just don't really like. I love doing it, but it's more of a hobby for me now. But professionally, I'm a Tom Cruise impersonator, and then I'll act for fun in some friend's collaborative project. I just don't want to do the business anymore. I'm not interested. Yeah.
Want to go in a rat race?
The rat race, yeah. It's demoralizing. It's not glamorous at all.
Soul crushing.
It's soul crushing, yeah. And I don't want. I just my soul is intact right now. I don't want to crush it anymore.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're Jerry Maguire after he wrote the amendment.
The mission statement, yeah.
Yeah, mission statement.
I mean, I want to leave behind a legacy. I'm writing a one-man show right now. I'm writing a memoir and one-man show about all my experiences, and also about grappling with and dealing with depression and anxiety through the years as a creative, as an artist, and trying to make it very relatable and not self-indulgent. It's challenging, but it's something I want to do.
To navigate these waters, these shark
Hmm.
infected waters with
Yeah,
depression.
yeah, and you're only as hot as your recent hot project, and once that's over, people move on to the next thing, and you're forgotten.
Right.
And it's so many people so many artists have suffered, and it's
And
it's
many
a
great.
it's a tragedy. A lot of great ones. Yeah, so many artists have resorted to escapism through drugs and hard drugs, and have died. And it's tragic.
Is that one of the reasons why you're leaving that behind?
No, not that I feel like I'm necessarily susceptible to that pathway. I'd never got into hard drugs or anything, but definitely the idea that I need to think about having a family and having some sustainability and security in my career. And it might be my parents, whispering into my ear all the time saying, get a real job, get a real job. But, you know,
Do they?
they do, but they're very proud of me as well.
That's good,
But they're also scared and worried about me.
of course.
Yeah.
So
But
when you start,
if I had thrown in the towel and given up so many years ago, or many times when everyone was telling me, or my parents were telling me to stop doing it, none of these incredible opportunities would have come to pass. So they're all wrong, is my point. You got to look, if you have a passion for something, if your heart's in it, you got to be persistent, and persistence is one of the key traits to a prolonged career.
Mhm. And that was one of your biggest traits because you never gave up, even in the hardest conditions.
I mean, I'm not like incredibly successful. I've had success, and I'm happy and I'm content. I'm not a megastar. I'm not making a fortune right now, but I'm doing well, and I'm spreading joy through my videos, and I do daily content creation on a variety of platforms. I do cameo shout out videos to people around the world, and they love them. They really genuinely appreciate my videos, and it's the only reason I keep doing what I'm doing, because people genuinely, it creates joy, and I'm spreading joy, and that's what makes me go on. It's purpose, you know. Without any purpose, you know, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
when you started to have some success as a Tom Cruise impersonator,
Yeah.
did you start to travel the world or had any offers
Yeah,
or something?
I've had some international jobs. I've been to London a few times, been did a motorcycle technology company, but it was a big motorcycle convention in London. That was fun because Cruise rides a lot of motorcycles, and I had to be in character most of the time. And many people there, maybe just because it's on, you know, a different part of the world, they're very gullible, more so than in the States. And many of them believe that I was Tom Cruise. Now I'm not a lookalike, as you can see. I'm an impersonator. There's a difference, but with the wig and glasses on, I transform, and then with my voice and the way I channel him and, you know, get into character, some people are genuinely fooled. So while I was at the motorcycle convention, several people I had to carry on a, you know, basically this ruse. I was, you know, completely, I didn't have the heart to tell them that I wasn't Tom Cruise. And they were asking me about all my stunt work and experiences riding this motorcycle versus that motorcycle, and I had to lie because I didn't have the heart to tell them. And then when I was in New Zealand, the same thing. I mean, about 50% of the audience believed that I was hosting this film festival as Tom Cruise, that the festival somehow had the whereabouts and money to fly Tom Cruise out and have him appear. Like, you know, logic just goes out the window.
It was a freebie.
What's that?
It was a freebie.
Yeah, it's a freebie.
But your voice is really, it's uncanny how close your voice is to Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of, I'm hired as his professional voice match, which is quite the honor. So agencies, my agent, Abrams Artist, considers me to be the voice match of Tom Cruise. So whenever there's anything Tom Cruise related, whether it's a trailer, animation, you know, I'm called in.
Oh, that's cool. Is he
Yeah.
aware of you?
Yeah. Um, when I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 10 years ago now, I had submitted that first video from YouTube of me doing a montage of his performances to a contest on Extra, Mario Lopez Extra. And I won Best Tom Cruise Impersonator. I won the contest. And Tom Cruise was flown out to be on stage with Mario Lopez to watch my video. And he basically said how uncanny my voice was, how freaked out he was. He was freaked out. And it was you know, quite the honor to have him laugh at my videos. And then years later, I ended up meeting him, and that was very exciting. We were eating dinner at the same restaurant, and it was 2 in the morning, and the restaurant empties out, and my girlfriend goes out to go to the bathroom, and it's just me and my friend in the garden at this restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise had already left, and I had wanted to send him a bottle of champagne, but the waiter told me I would be banned from this restaurant and he would be fired. Like, they're very strict. So I couldn't send him a bottle of champagne. I wanted to commemorate our relationship together, or lack thereof, but I wanted to commemorate our first meeting. And he shot it down. It was a crash and burn. So my girlfriend ended up calling my other friend because my phone was dead, and it's 2 in the morning, and my friend picks up the phone and he looks at me and he says, "Tom Cruise is waiting for you in the lobby." And I said, come on, stop messing with me. And he said it again, "Tom Cruise is waiting for you in the lobby," without smiling at all. And I knew he was serious, so I get up out of my chair and I sprint at my top speed, like Tom Cruise, sprint to the lobby, and he was there waiting for me, with Jeremy Renner, of all people. And Tom Cruise turns around, it's like slow motion. We grab each other, we shake each other, and we fell instantly in love.
Wow.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was like a cataclysmic reaction. My friend ended up taking a great picture of us, and we talked for about 5 to 10 minutes, short. He gets on his motorcycle, and he was off. That was it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you to make the impression while he was
No,
there?
I didn't. No. I didn't want to do it, in front of him. It would be weird. And I've actually heard from other impersonator friends that, like my friend Ross Marquand, or Marquand, he's
Mm-hmm.
on The Walking Dead, and he's one of the greatest impersonators. and he once did an impression for Larry David, and Larry David did not like it, and he commented like to other people in the room how much he didn't like it,
Mm-hmm.
and Ross told me, never again am I doing an impersonation for the person ever.
Right.
And I think he's right, because ultimately it's just going to be an awkward experience, you know?
So, Evan,
Yeah.
I'm just log off for a second because we're about to crash.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm gonna enter again,
Okay.
and you can tell me all about your production. Okay.